Welcome to the 38th episode of the HiFi 5. I'm Ron Resnick. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. You are watching, which is great, but you got to subscribe. Tonight's show is about buying used components and repairs. Our guest tonight, Morrison Agen of Hardcore HiFi, a dealer in component repair and restoration business. Jay Caceres of Jay's Audio Lab, a dealer in used components. Welcome back, Jay. Peter Glenn is the Director of Quality Assurance at the Music Room, a dealer in used components. And my dear friend Jim Yager, audiophile hobbyist who has a lot of experience buying and selling used components, especially when his wife goes out of town for a while. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Ron.
Good evening, Ron.
Topic number one. Is buying used the most cost-efficient and possibly the smartest way to build a high-end audio system? Jim.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off, I guess, huh? Yes, it is. I've done it for years, especially when you're trying to figure out what you want in a system. And that way you can buy, you can experiment. If you buy it secondhand, you're not paying full retail for it. You're paying maybe 50% off or even more. And that way you can sell it when you're done with it.
Jay.
So for me personally, I would say yes and no, but it depends on the buyer. If you are a person that has no clue as far as how to connect stuff and how to put together a system, I would say no, it's a mistake, because at the end of the day, you still need a dealer's expert advice, and obviously he should have some sort of education, at least from his own trials, as far as how to connect a sound system. So it has to do with the buyer, in my opinion. Who are they? Now, if you know what you're doing, you've been doing this long enough, you've been around the block, I can see that being a great option. But if you haven't, I would say no, it isn't.
Peter.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as Jim and Jay. It's great for the dabbler. It's great for the person who's hands-on, wants to try out different pieces, wants to have things moving in and out, or hey, I want to try this DAC for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, but I know I'm going to move on to something else. Isn't going to be set on just, hey, I want to set it and forget it. It's a great way for them to build a serious system and have that fun and kind of keep moving.
Morrison?
I think it again, it depends on the customer, and I think it depends on what components in the system. I think that there are some components that are certainly, totally reasonable to buy used. I think that there's other components that are out there that it's probably a good idea to have a warranty handy. Not that they're trouble prone or anything like that, but if something does need some sort of service, you want to make sure that you have a support system there for you. And also not just warranty, but technical support as well. I think that, in my history, I've worked for lots of companies. I have my own company, obviously, but where tech support that is not, doesn't have to do with the repair of a unit, but really just the getting in and figuring out the unit and how it's going to integrate with your system. Having that in your back pocket can be really important too. I had a client the other day that I was speaking to who has a very high-end SACD player, and he just had problems like getting through menus and stuff like that. And the person he purchased it from didn't really give him the support that he felt like he needed. And really it was pilot error. He just needed some help, but he had bought a used unit. He didn't really have a tech support route to go to. And so there's that as well, not just the service from a repairability standpoint, but but having some technical support behind it.
I am a big, if the audiophile is at least somewhat experienced, intermediate or experienced, I think buying used is great. I think it's a great way to audition components in situ in your own home, in your own system, while minimizing your financial risk. So I generally encourage people to buy used. What types of components are easiest to sell, and what types of components are the most difficult to sell? Peter.
small things are easiest to sell. Selling DACs, selling things like that, things that you can ship easily, don't require a lot of effort to package. That's usually the easiest for people to sell. The most difficult, large amps, large speakers, an average person doesn't have any freight experience, doesn't have that experience to really get it to someone safely, and can really be a big problem if there is any sort of issue at all.
Morrison, what do you think? What's the easiest thing for people to sell used, and what's the hardest thing for people to sell used?
I'm very much going to concur with Peter. I do a lot of freight shipping, and so I educate a lot of my customers, both if they're sending something to me to have me work on. Like for instance, Jim, I worked on a set of his Lamb monoblock amplifiers, and those came to us via freight. And we had to have a conversation about how the stuff needed to get packaged, how it needed to come to us, things like that. So I definitely concur with you there. Also, those larger items, there's definitely a greater chance of something happening in transit where you don't really have that issue with the smaller item.
Jay, what do you find is easiest to sell and easiest to buy?
Easiest to sell is probably the smaller items. To sell, cables are easy. DACs, we're in the digital age, up to a certain price point. Of course, nothing that is 6 figures is going to ever be easy to sell. But for the most part now, most systems have a DAC of some sort. And to buy, I'd say for people to buy is usually anything that has to be more with the price, in my opinion, to buy. Budget constraints have a lot to say whether something's easy or hard to buy. So I would say probably, again, I would say DACs and preamplifiers under 10 grand, stuff like that is a lot easier. Amps, Luxman, for example, Sim Audios of the world, anything under 15K, that's easier to sell.
So so the less expensive and the smaller, the easier.
Without a doubt. The thing about this, and I meant to make a video about this the other day, unfortunately, affordable stuff, is not sexy in many people's eyes. But it is sexy when you can buy something heavily discounted and depreciated that you normally couldn't afford. That makes it more enticing for people, which is unfortunate because that's what forces manufacturers to not release affordable products as often as they should. When you have Audio Research making products that are, let's say, we saw a batch of new electronics as of a year to 2 years ago, 10 grand, $12,000 for preamps and amps. No one's talking about it because it's not sexy, but it is sexy to steal a speaker that's 100 grand for $10,000. That's why. So you have to think about it like that. And it's not sexy to buy a Toyota Camry, but it is sexy to buy an Aston Martin for 90 grand, right? Because it is 270,000. That's the best analogy I can give you.
Jim, what do you think is easiest to buy and sell? What are you most comfortable buying and selling?
What everybody else has said. It's about that's spot on. It's obviously it's going to be hard for me to sell 525-pound speakers, but for buying stuff used, the one thing I don't like to buy used is turntables. Because that's more of an intimate, that's something you're very intimate with. You're touching it, you're feeling it. And turntables, to me, I just hate to have them shipped. And I'm not great at setting them up, so I always have somebody else set them up. But when it comes to used gear, just what everybody else said, basically.
Topic 3, what components are the riskiest to buy used? Jim, you just suggested that you don't care to buy turntables used. Morrison, what do you think is the riskiest to buy used, and what's the safest to buy used?
Gosh, so, first off, I think it has to do with, there's so much it has to do with the person that you're buying it from, right? The person that you're buying it from has to be somebody who's reputable and
Yes.
at least like willing to have a phone call with you and stuff like that. And, you got to get a good feeling for this person. That being said, the riskiest to buy used, I will say every time I've shipped a tube amp, I have done so like with my fingers crossed and just praying, because there's just so many things that can go wrong. And I absolutely bulletproof everything that goes out the door. But you know, we have I'll say I have a very, very good relationship with ArcBest Freight, because if I think that there's even a hint that something could go south, I'm always going to recommend a freight shipment, even for you know what would normal people would throw in UPS. You know, I'll always recommend a freight shipment just because I know it's going to get there safest. That's the riskiest thing for me.
Jay?
Riskiest, anything that's got tubes in it. Reason one, it can shatter. Those tubes can definitely shatter. Two, you have high failure rates with tubes. So now you get a product that doesn't work as specified. So now you're scrambling, trying to figure out, is it a tube? The reason why the left channel is sounding, it has less gain than the than the left channel. So you become like a technician in so many ways. And that's simply because of the tube technology. That's not to say that's every product, okay? But for the most part, you're more prone to failures with tube gear, especially when it comes to transportation. There is definitely going to be more challenges into your point, Morrison. That's really the key. It's just packing the product properly and doing the best you can in freight 100%. And if they don't want to take it because they want to save money they just want to go ground, I'll make him sign a piece of paper and tell them, hey, you're on your own if it breaks and it arrives damaged. That's you.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Peter, what do you find? What's the riskiest to buy and sell used?
I mean, I could certainly go tubes, but just to kind of go in a different direction, disc players are pretty risky at times.
I could see that. Yeah.
Like they also, quite frankly, I'm concerned about the parts not being available very soon. Just a lot of them are just flat out not manufactured.
Sure.
And they're not going to be around. And there's a lot of the really fantastic disc players that you can't get optical drives for. You can't get these parts.
Name 555.
You're just SOL at that point, and there's nothing you can do. And the other portion of it, much like tubes, they always had a failure rate that we just have. We're getting better in our technology with digital streaming and things that just doesn't happen anymore. So people are used to this level of performance, so this level of like just usability all the time. The disc players always had issues with, tape always had issues with, and we've just kind of forgotten about. So they worry me a bit.
Yeah.
I'm most uncomfortable. I kind of agree with Jim. For some reason, I get fidgety about the idea of buying a turntable. You don't know, maybe they did something with the bearing, or they, something, they put pressure on it or something. And cartridges are also, personally, I would find cartridges to buy scary. Yeah. And as far as difficult, I think large tube amps might be the most difficult thing to sell. I had a pair of 200-pound each amp is 200 pounds, tube amps on sale for 2 years. Couldn't sell them to save my life, and I was asking like 25% of MSRP. Turns out my system made a full 360-degree, 180, and now I'm actually glad I didn't sell them, because now I happen to be using those same tube amps very happily, and they're permanent keepers. But giant, super heavy tube amps couldn't sell to save my life for 2 years. So I think those are pretty difficult to sell. Topic 4, are today's used prices higher or lower than they should be? Jay?
It depends who you ask. If you ask a broke person, they're higher than they should be. That's the truth, right? But I would say they're lower, and that is due to dealers discounting products. I've said it a million times. That's what makes unfortunately, the secondhand market plummet. The initial discounting.
Tell us that structure that you're talking about. What is the structure that you're describing that results in the used prices being lower than they should be?
Dealer discounts product right out of the gate by 20%, 25% to this customer just to make the sale, in fear that this customer is going to go knocking on some other doors, trying to get the best possible price. Customer gets it in, buys it, say $100,000 speakers, gets them for 80. 6 months later, he's bored. He's got a change of heart. He wants to buy another set of speakers, knocks on somebody else's door. That's a dealer. Hey, I want to trade you this in. Okay, what do you want to buy? I want to buy this other set of speaker. Let's say that speaker is $100,000. Dealer says, okay, I'll give you, approximately, let's say 60,000 on trade-in, right? 40% off of MSRP. But that customer only lost 20% right there, right? He didn't lose the full 40%. So now that product arrives in the secondhand market for 50 to 60 points off. And that it all starts because of that initial discount. If that customer had bought it at the original MSRP of 100 grand, there's no way in hell he's taking a $40,000 bath to change out speakers. So that makes people retain their product for longer. There is going to be a lot less flipping. The more people have in their products, the less willing they are to get rid of it. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule. If you're well off, you don't give a shit. You just want to make a change. But most people are concerned with the money they spend, even in hi-fi. So the more they lose, the less they're willing to sell this product. And so sometimes we see that reflect itself in the secondhand market when you see products that are brand new current units selling for 50 points off. That's just an indication that the dealer who sold it discounted it.
And so that dealer discounting tends to encourage turnover.
Because now your losses are only 20, maybe 15% if you got a deeper discount, the 25 points. So you can play all day long, all year round, losing only 15%. That's not a bad proposition, because that's, a yearly depreciation, cost of use, if you want to call it. That's not bad. People are willing to play if that's all you're losing every time you swap out gear up to a certain price point.
But you're saying you think dealers will take trade-in at 40% off MSRP?
No, usually the standard practice, usually, I mean, it's just, whatever the MSRP, it has to do with a lot of factors. If you're asking me, I need to know where you got it. Do you have the original receipt? If I found out you got it at a discount, I'm starting the MSRP at what you paid for it. That's new MSRP. So I'm going to start taking off the top from what you paid for it to give you trading value on something I've got. And so when they mention a dealer, to me, I know the ones that are discounters. So you don't even have to tell me. I know when you tell me it's dealer A, I know you got it for a deal, period. So I'm going to start right where more or less what you got it for, to give you my trading value.
Morrison, what do you think?
So
how are used prices today?
I think that value is determined when money changes hands. That's it. So the market determines what stuff gets sold at, right?
True.
So
that's
if
true.
you have an amplifier in the marketplace and you want, I'm just going to throw out a number. You have a little tube amp and you want $4 grand for it, and you get 5 offers for $2,500. I think you have a $2,500 amplifier in your lap. Right? You probably don't have a $4,000 amplifier. You probably have a $2,500 amplifier, because the world is telling you that this is a $2,500 amplifier. You may be able to talk somebody up to $2,700, $2,800, but you're probably not going to talk them up to $3,500, right? And add as many or take away as many zeros as you want on whatever this is. And it doesn't have to be an amplifier. It can be whatever it is. Value is determined when money changes hands. And so I think that there's a lot of things that determine what somebody's willing to spend, including, like, are they nervous about the economy today? Are they, what else is happening where they're going to feel comfortable making this purchase? So, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the proposition that prices are too high or too low. They're just, the world is who, I don't make up the prices on anything. The rest of the world does. There you go.
Jim?
Morrison and Jay are both right. The market is the market. Like in the automobile business, if a car has a $10,000 rebate on it, that's going to affect, on a new car, that's going to affect what that used car is worth. And that's the same thing in audio. So if I won't say where I bought it from or what, but I got 40 points off of Audio Research on a brand new Ref 10. And this was 2 years ago.
Sure. Was that a dealer demo that wanted to just drop it?
It was a dealer demo. It was a demo. But Yeah, you can get deep discounts, and it's still a lot of money, but you can have it for a year or two and sell it and not get that hurt. Now, I don't agree with Jay where he says that if somebody gets a discount, he's going to find out how much he paid for it. It shouldn't matter how much I paid for it. The market is the market. And say
Agreed.
if I got a, so
yeah, no, I understand
it's
your
just,
point. Your point makes sense. What you're saying, that there's no,
yeah,
I wouldn't disagree with your point. I just see it as, the fact that some buyers are, not, they want the lowest possible price on what they're buying and the highest trade-in value. And I understand that because I also like to swap out vehicles. So we play that
Sure.
game at car dealers all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. But now when you're on the other side of the fence wearing the hat of a dealer, it changes for you completely.
Well, of course, because you have expenses. You have
yeah. But I do understand you as a consumer. Absolutely agree with you. Yep.
Peter, what do you think about used prices?
I think they're about right because, like Morrison said, they really set themselves. It really doesn't matter if a manufacturer says that this is a $50,000 preamp, but no one will buy it for over 10 grand. Then it's a $10,000 preamp, and they're not tied to global supply chain or anything like that. It's what do people want for right now. We're far more concerned about what can we sell it for. I don't really. At the end of the day, I don't care what the MSRP is. You can set it. The sky's the limit. Great,
Yep.
That's cool.
right.
This is what it is. What it is. This is what people are interested in now, and for whatever reason they are, that's what it's worth.
And that's a good point, because some manufacturers and their networks have the business model of raising the price to facilitate the dealer discounting it, which kind of initiates the race to the bottom pricing process that Jay was talking about.
Yep, that's why you see inflated lines. Now, this is exactly the perfect way of connecting the dots, which is why is HiFi in the new market having these ridiculous MSRP prices. It's exactly because of how customer behavior is now today, like what their expectations are. So that's why everything is inflated to kind of correct that problem down low.
And you're saying, is that
Well,
because
what happened first, the chicken or the egg, though?
Agreed.
Who
Yeah,
inflated
it's
the?
true.
well, the manufacturer sets the price, but you're saying that, or you're all saying that the manufacturer inflates the price because the customer likes to feel he got a discount off out of the box off of MSRP. So to give every customer a 20% discount, all you have to do is inflate the price by 20%. Yeah,
You figure it out. But the problem is
Yeah.
the expectation becomes, and I think, look, it has to do, there is a lot of different nuances to this. One of them being the wrong dealers, of course, dealers that are desperate for money, that can't pay their bills, they're whoring stuff out. That's a different conversation altogether. But that has a lot to do with what happens in the secondhand market. The music room is great at doing what they do, but they spend a ton of marketing dollars. I mean, they pop up on freaking YouTube every time I'm watching a video asking me to send them send me your gear. We're gonna help you sell it. So I want to be like the music room, but in a lower scale with higher end stuff. I would love to be like the music room, hands down. But I don't have the staff, the employees, the manpower they got, technicians on site. I don't have all of that. It'll be hard for me to catch up to them.
Topic 5. What are the pros and cons for consumers of online platforms such as AudioGone, US Audio Mart, and eBay versus online dealers like Jay, like Peter at the Music Room, like Skyfi? Jim, let's start with you. What are the pros and cons of how consumers buy the products?
Well, when you're buying from individuals, usually you can get a better price because you don't have the overhead like Jay has and like the music room has. The music room especially, because they do have technicians and they do go through their gear. So that's something, that's another level, but you do take a chance when you buy from the individuals. And that's okay when you have a technician like Morrison. You have somebody like Morrison that, man, by the way, shameless plug, I got to give him his flowers. The lambs sound fantastic.
Thank you.
And that is I'm just blown away. Just blown
That's
away.
awesome.
But
those took everything. Those took everything to get done right. Every power resistor on
Let's
both
move
of
on,
them
gentlemen. No
was just
infomercials.
scattered. Yeah.
But when you do that, and you do buy from US Audio Mart and AudioGon, and you buy from these individuals, a couple things. I like to talk to them on the phone. Okay. And some of these platforms make that quite difficult to do that, especially eBay. I want to know who the heck I'm buying from, because frankly, when you ask them a question and these one-word answers through AudioGon just don't fly with me.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
You
Yeah, and then
know?
when
It
you're
really
dealing on
makes you feel
eBay,
comfortable throwing $20,000 across the internet. Right.
Exactly. So, yep. But that's it. They both have their place, though.
Morrison?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think so. I do my best to not be anonymous when I'm putting our products out on different websites. Like we have an AudioGon store, and we list stuff on eBay and things like that. And I always make sure that everybody knows, like, basically our pedigree, what we do. We're a warranty service supplier for 13 different luxury audio brands. We do lots of different stuff, and everything that we put out in the universe, we make sure that we have eyes on, and that it has our technician's thumbprint that says this is good to go before it walks out the door. But everybody's going to be a little bit different. Some people are just, kind of horse trading and doing their thing. And I'm never going to be that person to tell somebody else how to spend their money. So however they feel comfortable is fine. I know how I feel comfortable, and I don't even feel comfortable selling something without having a phone call with somebody. And so part of that is just also just having a relationship with people, and this business and every business is all about relationships. It's the boxes that we sell, they're going to come and go, but the friends that we make along the way, those are there forever. So
100%.
Peter.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can get it for cheaper. We have overhead. We have this big building. We've got technicians. We've got all the things. We're also doing shipping, some of those things at scale, which does also help kind of reduce that and kind of offset some of those costs for the end product, where we're kind of building that in. I mean, there's just also the benefit of shipping, being able to, like we were talking about earlier, having quality, being able to ship something properly, being able to ship it safely, be able to get it to you. There's also, quite frankly, just some of the like financial risks, some of the financial scam stuff. Like, you sell it to a customer. We're able to kind of handle all of those things. Even it's out there, both coming and going. Someone's going to try to rip you off, or they're not going to know what to do when there is a problem, and they're not going to have any infrastructure. They're like, well, I already spent that money, and there is an issue, even though they said they're going to do it. So it's something to certainly consider. You can get it cheaper from an individual, but there's certainly some risk with that.
Yeah.
Jay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to speak from experience. I have been taken out 3 times in my entire, I don't want to say career, my entire time doing business here in the hi-fi world. So to the tune of over $100,000 gone. Okay. I wanted to go the legal route, but I couldn't. Now, why am I saying this? It's because eventually, if you're wheeling and dealing aggressively, write it down. It is 8:29 p.m. You will be taken out. I promise you. It will be a matter of time before you get taken out. Keep doing it long enough, it will come to you. Believe me when I say that. When the price is too good to be true, It probably is. I'm telling you right now, it probably is. I have had people that are looking to do wheeling and dealing, fell off the back of the truck type of pricing, that white minivan that pulls up at Home Depot that's selling sound systems all in a box. You guys have heard about that minivan. Trust me, okay? Trust me, that shit is coming after you, okay? So what I'm going to say is let those that are real solid business make a little more money from you. You go to sleep at night. You can pay with a credit card. You don't have to worry about shit. So what if it was $3,000 more? If you're that broke, that $3,000 is going to change your life, brother, you should be doing something else, not hi-fi. You should be doing something else with your money, right? So that's just how I feel. Let people, make a little more money on you, but you establish a relationship with a real business. Music room, real business. They got to his point, to Peter's point, they got overhead. And so I have seen time and time again where people come to me, two clients of mine, perfect examples. Both of them try to buy something off of me. We couldn't come to terms with, what they wanted to pay. Both of them vanished. 1 month later, one of them tells me he wired money to Europe for a DCS DAC. Never saw the DAC. He got pictures, he got videos, everything gone. Money's gone. The other one wanted to find a deal on VAC gear. I had a couple of amplifiers that were used for sale. He decided to buy from a dealer, a wannabe dealer. Turns out he was never a dealer, but he found out after he sent the money to that person. He never bothered to check the website of the manufacturer that if he was a dealer or not. He just took it at his word. Gone.
Look, my personal view is you guys provide a service that is valuable that people should be willing to pay an increment for.
Yep.
There is no doubt that you guys, because you guys have to maintain your reputation, you are going to do pretty much whatever it takes to make those transaction participants happy, because you've got to maintain your reputation. And that means real value in terms of reducing the risk of the purchaser and the seller. So I don't think people should begrudge you your cut. That's my personal view. Topic 6. How often in your
100%.
personal experience do sellers misrepresent the condition of their components in their ads or the condition of their components in their oral descriptions to you? Peter.
A lot, but I also don't feel like it's intentional.
Right.
It happens all the time. I think they're not getting it out in the light. They're not looking at it like it's a new prize product that they just bought. They're pulling it out of their system. It was working for them, and it isn't what they said it was, and that's okay. That's okay. But there's a fair amount of times where it's like, yeah, this is good, but it's not exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. Jay?
Well, the condition of a product is highly subjective. A 10 out of 10 might be someone else's 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Now, I do know there are descriptions within like audio that tell you if it has a scratch on the front plate, that makes it a 9. If it has 3 scratches around, that makes it a 7. I understand all of that. I do agree with Peter. Sometimes they're not intentional, but oftentimes I would say it's a 50-50 for me. When I buy stuff, 50-50. You're going to encounter something that it was misrepresented. They never told you they rolled tubes. The original tubes, for example, a Macintosh product, you want to have the original tubes in there. They never told you they rolled them. And when they inserted the new ones or whatever they used, they inserted them wrong. They came in loose. They never told you that. Oh, yeah, I did roll tubes. I forgot to tell you that. That matters. And then now I have to figure out how to make it right for the next person. So I would say for me, it's generally speaking 50-50 as far as how accurate the condition of the products are.
And you and I have discussed that buyers, even buyers of used components, they want it in new condition, even though they're
That's
buying
another
used.
problem. It's really, it's the most ridiculous things ever. Like there's a scratch under the chassis. Underneath the chassis, under the speaker. Like there's a scratch underneath. Really? Are you going to be? I mean, who looks underneath? Okay, there's stupid stuff like there's dust on the AC inlet. Like there's really, you didn't tell me was so. I mean, stupid things like that. Ridiculous. Like I had a guy show up. Not even kidding you. I was selling an esoteric super audio CD player. We made a deal verbally. He drove to my house in Florida. He shows up, walks right through the door, and literally feels the edges on the front plate of the esoteric, because there's a lot of ridges on the edge on the esoteric super audio CD players. He felt something with his fingers. He said he couldn't buy it because he would never be able to go to sleep at night. knowing that there is something there that he couldn't see, but he could feel.
Right.
You couldn't see it. You had to put your fingers and do this. He didn't buy it. I'm telling you right now, it's crazy shit like this. And I'm like, dude, you're buying it for like 40 off because it's used. There's none on the used market. You're looking
And
at
new can't solve that either.
Right.
Nobody ever said there was not a lot of neurosis in this hobby. Jim.
You know what? I haven't had much trouble. I always take very good photos when I sell something. I'm the guy that puts a pin next to the scratch if there's a little scratch there.
That's great.
Just, to show it. I'm that guy. And then when I buy it, I just ask for additional photos. And if I don't think the photos are that clear, so I've got some stuff in that I wasn't completely happy with, but you know what? That's a chance I take, and it's okay. But I haven't had much problems. It's communication, just like any type of relationship.
Yeah.
Morrison, what's been your experience?
So I not only deal in audio equipment, but I deal in physical media. So I buy records all the time, and holy smokes, that stuff comes in any various amount.
That's a different thing right there.
Totally different thing. Yeah, just like, oh yeah. Anytime that I've found that somebody is, the more often that they say that something is, and they use the word mint, the more often that they use that, the less likely that I am to believe it. But because nothing is mint, literally nothing is mint. There's factory sealed, which is what we call assumed mint, but there is no 10 out of 10 in literally anything.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel about, that's the way I feel about that. And so, yeah.
And you know what I tell them, Morrison, when they tell me the condition that it's in, I said, dude, if you're looking for no signs of use, buy new plus tax, period. That's what I tell you in the conversation. It's used shit. It's why does the car have some hairlines on the front bumper? It's got fucking 10,000 miles, dude. It's not a new car.
I'm in the automobile business, so I know that. So yes.
Yeah, you would know. Like, it's used, dude. It's got you need some touch up. Yeah, dude.
It's got 70,000 miles on it.
Right.
I personally have a neurotic thing about scratches, but even if it's used, it's going to have a scratch on it.
It's going to have something, swirl marks, or even, JL Audio subwoofers. Most people don't know. Fresh out of the box, they have hairlines on them because of the freaking cloth they use to cover them. It puts hairlines on them. I sold a new one, sealed. The guy returned it. He said it wasn't new. It had hairlines on it, and it was brand new, sealed.
But it's funny. Then you see some of this gear, and you go, "How the hell did they fuck it up that bad?"
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure,
true. I would have to be that. I would hate to be that guy's wife.
How'd they do that? It went through a meat grinder. Shit.
Right.
Topic 7. This is an important one.
Yeah.
How should consumers decide if the discount they're buying used justifies buying without a factory warranty versus paying more for maybe a dealer demo component at a smaller discount, but getting a factory warranty? Where does the discount percentage off of MSRP that helps the consumer decide where the cutoff justifies buying without a factory warranty? Jay?
I would say if the savings are so substantial that chances are it won't cost that much money to repair it if they have to ship it back to the factory.
Sure.
So if you're buying something 30 cents on the dollar, it's not going to cost you a car to repair it. You see what I'm saying? So this is kind of like how you have to look at it. Typically, this happens with imported goods quite often, especially if they have been discontinued. So that's pretty much the only reason or way I would say that anyone should consider buying secondhand. But if you are, in buying gray market stuff, that's a whole different ballgame. There's a difference here. And this question can be tied together to gray market stuff, by the way, because that comes in heavily discounted and the savings are substantial. That's a whole different thing. So I would say justify it if you're getting it cheap enough, say 30 cents on the dollar, to say that's fine, I'll bypass a dealer demo. That could be, only 40% off of MSRP, let's say, if the dealer's looking to unload it. But you know what? If it's a complex thing, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that can go wrong, I would say you got to have that warranty, man. Gotta have the
So-
warranty, because that thing can make 3 trips to the factory, and it will basically, you now ended up overpaying for the item by the time it comes back to you every time.
Please explain your gray market points. You're saying gray market, if it comes in, does not travel with a factory warranty?
Never. Gray market product does not travel. If you get caught with the gray market stuff, you are done. You have to ship it back overseas to get it repaired. And I don't want to tell you the bill you get in the mail from U.S. Customs for tariffs. And if you don't pay it, prove it. And then you got it's a shit show. Online, emails, proof, all this crap. It's a nightmare. If not, you got a bill on top of you. And every time you export stuff, if it's an individual, your social is, they know it. They don't need to have your digits. They know exactly who you are. They'll get your address and they'll tie it to you. Believe me. And then once that happens, good luck trying to get anything through customs. They won't allow anything that comes your way if you don't pay it. Ever.
Morrison?
So I have a client who we are a servicer for a pair of speakers that he owns. We are the stateside servicer. He bought them kind of sideways and does not have a warranty. And he got basically a 50% break on these. I'm not going to say the make or model of the speakers, but something happened that would have been covered under warranty. Basically, some loud thing happened that just really messed up these drivers in a way that is the only thing I can say is extremely unfortunate. And it's probably going to need new drivers all the way through both sides. And he needs to send the speakers to us to have it happen, because either the speakers need to come to us or we need to go to the speakers. I don't send parts to just some guy to have him put in his speakers. Not if you want him to be right. And so he's probably going to spend the other 50% of that having me get this done. So didn't work out in that case. And then he still doesn't have a warranty by the time it's all done. He just got them repaired. With things like CD players, SACD players, things like that, CD transports, where, if they get shipped without the transport screws being installed, you're going to have a problem. We have another amplifier that's another one that we do warranty service for, that was sent to us to have eyeballs on. And when it was packaged, this amplifier didn't have transport screws put in it. Well, golly, the transformer just went and just ricocheted all through this thing. It's totaled. It is 100% totaled. It's a, many thousands of dollars worth of amplifier, and there's nothing you can do about it. Everything in there is broken, just because somebody shipped it poorly. And so, you just, so I don't know that I can really comment on what's a percentage that's worth the risk, but, if you are not terribly risk averse and you're willing to roll the dice on stuff, then, okay, just know that not having a service, resort for you may be a thing. Not having technical support is certainly going to be a thing. It's just, it really just depends, I think, on the end user and what his risk tolerance is.
Jim, how big a discount do you look for if you're not getting any kind of transferable warranty?
Well, I'm one of those guys. I did buy a gray market piece. It was off of eBay. It was a Soul Note DS Audio phoneless stage. Mm-hmm. And it was about a 60% discount. Mm-hmm. And I believe you're a dealer to that, aren't you? The Soul Note, the music room, right? You're
Yes.
a dealer to that?
Yes.
For Soma, yeah.
Yeah.
This is before you became a dealer. This was about 3 years ago. And I couldn't find a dealer anywhere. So I rolled the dice. I figured, you know what? It's a phono stage. Nothing's going to go wrong. And I've been lucky. So I would say it just depends on what it is, 25% to 60%, whatever. It's around there. But I've rolled the dice a couple
But
times.
25 to 60, 25% to 60% off of MSRP?
Yes, it just depends on what it is. But now it might sound like that I'm all against dealers, and I'm not at all. I bought a lot of stuff from dealers and still continue to do that. And I want to support dealers as much as I can. And so I don't want to sound like I'm against dealers, because I deal with them all the time. So,
Peter?
Yeah, I gotta go. It's hard to say exactly what that percentage off should be. It kind of depends on the type of unit that you're dealing with. Like a lot of the stuff that Morrison was talking about, like most manufacturers aren't going to cover it. The thing was shipped poorly, is damaged, you're out of luck anyways. One perspective I do see a fair amount though in terms of failures is that a unit having 6 months or 12 months or 18 months under its belt isn't always a bad thing. Like, we have a greater failure rate on new products than we do on used products.
Interesting.
Yep.
Now, when somebody buys something from the music room, does the music room apply your own warranty for a period of time of any kind?
Yes, all of our used products have a 90-day warranty. But
yeah, and usually with
go ahead.
electronics, if they're going to go bad, it's going to go bad that first 90 days usually.
Yeah, that's called infantile failure.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so, I mean, there's a lot of products like, hey, if it made it that 6 months or a year, you're probably golden. Like you're probably good for quite a long time until you start having cap failures and all the things that are going to happen 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and with a lot of, modern components.
Sure.
Topic 8. Do you see more, and this follows up on what you're saying, Peter, do you see more recent production items needing repairs, say 1 to a couple of years old, or do you see way older items needing repairs? Morrison, what comes across your desk?
So we are a warranty servicer for, about 12, 13 different brands. So we do see those come in. Generally, they tend to be, the services tend to be, sometimes it's pilot error. Sometimes it's, just kind of a fluke. The one thing I'll say is that, and this may be a somewhat controversial thing to say, but I'll say that everything that exists, period, from the time it comes off of a production line, and I don't care whether it is your car, whether it is your stereo system, whatever it is always fighting to get back to the dust from whence it came, from the moment that it's created, right? So nothing lasts forever, right? There are devices inside of every piece of electronics that exist on planet Earth, like capacitors. They all have a limited lifespan, right? They all have a 10 to 15 year lifespan. And so we see a ton of stuff come in that's vintage and vintage adjacent. I would call like Jim's Lambs would be like vintage adjacent. Those are like 25, 30 years old. And really, technically, I guess they are vintage. But when I think of vintage, I think probably, Peter, you're in the same boat. We think of like 70s Marantzes and like Pioneer SX 1980s and things like that, which by the time that those land, those don't need just like a little kiss to make them right. They need everything. They need a full restoration, which means every capacitor needs to be replaced. Every Zener diode needs to be replaced. Relays all need to be replaced. Output transistors need to be pulled and tested. And if they're not close, then they need to be replaced. Looking at power supplies and removing any of the carbon comp resistors and replacing those with metal oxide, going through these things from stem to stern, front to back, making sure that it's perfect. Of course, removing every little bit of tantalum out of everything and replacing those with modern day equivalents, looking at the signal path in there and making sure that you have the quietest components in the signal path.
Okay, so the answer is it's way old. Those way older things tend to come in more than newer things.
They tend to need a lot more work. They do come in more often because by the time they get to us, they're having serious problems. So yes.
Peter.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot more of the new, but the new products that are in that first 6 months or so tend to see a lot more just like straight up like, oh, this just had a failure. These meters failed. This sockets on the tubes failed. Whatever. There was a connector that's bad. Things like that. That's where really. Other than that, it's primarily shipping and physical damage.
That's interesting, though, that this infantile failure thing is not something I personally really was that aware of. It totally makes sense. If something works for 3 months, it's very likely going to work for 3 years, but it might fail in the first 3 months.
Yeah, like there's no component out there that has a 100% never fail rate, right? Like if you make 1 million of these devices, there is going to be a small percentage of those that are they're going to fail. And so, and they are not going to necessarily fail immediately. And I don't mean, I'm not talking about full devices. I'm talking about like individual component devices inside of the unit. So
okay. Jay, what has been your experience in terms of components that you take in that have some failure problem?
Believe it or not, I don't really have a lot of that. Don't really have any issues. For the most, I would say I have probably 90% success with buying hi-fi gear, which is extremely high. Oftentimes, it's more damage during shipping than anything else. It was mishandled, but if it's properly packed with the original manufacturer's box, and assuming they didn't play soccer with it while they were transporting it, well, 90% of the things have been fine. They are fine. They work fine. If anything, they quit working within the next 90 days. Maybe that may happen. But to your point, Peter, once it passes that 90-day mark, I never hear from them again. There's never any issue.
Topic 9 is what's the most common types of failure? So, Jay, let me stay with you. Describe for us what has been your experience with that other 10%? What have been the problems you've experienced with the 10%?
Failures, typically, it depends on the component. I mean, usually for a speaker, tweeters blown, right? And believe it or not, you'd be shocked at how many deaf people we have within the hi-fi industry. I've seen systems where I walk into a customer's home and the guy never knew he had a blown tweeter the whole time. Never knew. It's ridiculous, right? So speakers, number one. And I would say number 2, typically it would be probably like an amplifier acting up when you plug it into the wall, like humming sounds, mechanical humming or buzzing sounds through the tweeter, stuff like that. But after that, preamps, pretty solid for me. 99% of the preamps have been solid for me.
Morrison, list for us, please. What are the couple of most common failures you see?
Tubes and capacitors for sure. Mostly because the capacitors are really ubiquitous. Every so often we'll see a shorted transistor, but it's pretty rare, man. It's a lot of times when something like that happens, it's because somebody did something that they maybe shouldn't have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter, what are the most common types of failures you see?
If I'm putting on the repair hat, connections, just connectors, connections, boards connecting together, things shipping. Especially things age, you start just getting corrosion issues. See the same thing on tubes. The tube socket, the actual socket is the worst part of the entire thing. It's not that the socket's bad, but there's a physical connection there.
Yeah.
As much as capacitors, a lot of that is getting so good. The manufacturing is so good on capacitors and resistors. If it's a well-designed component, it probably isn't that bad. But I see so many times like this thing doesn't work. You open it up, you go, oh, this thing came disconnected. You put it back in, or you just reseat all the connections and pow, it works again.
Hey.
Yep.
Jim, what's a failure you've had when you bought something?
Tubes, but tubes are like a tire in a car. You're going to replace them. So that happens. The sockets, like Peter said, were sometimes, especially like on a 300B, where that crimp, you have to go in there and with the screwdriver and pinch it a little bit to go and make sure you have a good connection on it. Messing with that, cleaning them. I've done that a lot. But that's basically it. You got caps that go out. I don't know what took Morrison so long to fix my lamps. I only had a couple caps go out.
Jesus.
Okay. Topic 10. I want to make sure we have time for the music segment. So this is going to be our last question.
Sure.
And particularly for Peter and Jay, how do you decide what buying prices you're going to offer people who are selling? And how do you decide what you're going to ask for that component when you turn around and resell it? Jay.
I have my own blue book. I keep track of everything I sell. I know exactly what I sold it for last and how long it took me. I keep track of things, and I know how long. If it took me too long to sell your item, you're going to take a hit selling it to me, period. Because it does not move fast enough. I had someone trying to trade in a 15-year-old Sonos Faber Homage, I think it is called, reviewed in 1999 by Michael Fremer on Stereophile. I told him, this is a 25-year-old speaker. You understand this is going to sit here. I'm probably going to have to call bulk so they can come and pick it up, right? So I'm not going to give you very much for it, but I'll do the best I can. And I actually was fair enough with him, but I'd say my own transactional history, everything that I have done, will dictate how much I pay for something. And also taking a peek into the used market and figuring out if there are too many of the same items. When there's too many on the market, you can't pay top dollar for anything because you're competing against everybody else.
So, for example, you look at Hi-Fi Shark and see how many have been for sale recently and if they sold, that kind of thing?
I look at that, and if I have someone ready to buy, that maybe I get a phone call, someone's looking for something and it came to me, I'd be willing to pay more for that item so that I can flip it quickly without holding on to it.
Sure.
Peter, please.
Makes sense.
Data. We're just what we've sold it for, how fast we've sold it. What do we have do these sell in 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, 50 days? We're just mining data to say exactly what we've got. People that are looking for these, and these things go. We can go a little bit higher if we have no idea at all.
You guys do consignment too, right? On the expensive items. I've been told you guys don't buy the real expensive stuff anymore.
Often, yeah, because we can't necessarily hammer out what the price is. So I'm gonna lowball you so much. If you want to sell it at that, because I'm rolling the dice.
Full transparency. That has been, when they come to me, they have told me they try to go to the music room, and the music room says, we'll take it on consignment, but maybe the customer is like, I don't want to be waiting 6 months until you sell it. I want to buy something else right now. And so they come to me, and that's when I'm able to strike up deals once I know you have shut them down.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we're data driven to just try to keep that moving. I've got to beat all the people here.
Yeah.
Morrison, when you have your dealer hat on, how do you decide on pricing, what you're going to buy and what you're going to sell at?
We all have the same internet, right? So we all have the same availability of seeing, what's out there and what things have sold for, and whether it be Hi-Fi Shark or we go on to the Audiophile Blue Book or anything like that. And so, I certainly sell things on consignment too. I've got a pair of very high-end monoblocks that are on our floor right now that are gorgeous and lovely and awesome. And, it's not something that I could, it's something that I was willing to position in the marketplace for this client. And he was totally fine with that. He's just like, yeah, it's great. You can go ahead and field all the phone calls and do all the negotiations. Just let me know where it ends up. you know, he was totally fine with that. And so, you know, we've got a couple pieces like that, not a ton. But, you know, again, the market's going to dictate what the market's going to dictate. So, and we pay attention to that as much as anybody else.
On to the music segment. Who has a music recommendation for us tonight?
All right.
Jim.
All right. Let's start off with a little Charles Tolliver. This is an album from 1969. Can y'all see it pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a copy of that.
He's a trumpeter, and this is a fantastic album recorded. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a progressive jazz, and highly, highly recommended. Now, I want to give you guys a new old album. This is Miles and Quincy Montrose. This is a Rhino reissue. This is Miles. My daughter's name is Mayu. This is Miles. One of his last performances before he passed, about 2 months before he passed. What's unique about this is this is almost a 1 hour album on a single disc. And usually that's a remedy for sounding horrible, but this sounds fantastic. And I got that at Disney Concert Hall when we went with my friend Don, and Ron is friends with Don too. And we found this there. Fantastic. And then I got one more. I was told to limit it to 3.
Yes, you were.
Yes. And these are all ones I've just recently been listening to. Tower of Power in the slot. This is another fantastic album. This is like a little jazz. Once again, sounds fantastic. This is from, I believe, 1975. And that's what we got.
Okay. Morrison, did you have something?
I've got a few things. This one's for Jim, because I know you're a bit of a jazzer, Jim. I've sold Jim several great jazz records. This is John. This is John Benjamin's Jazz Daredevil. Well, I should have learned how to play piano. So John Benjamin is a comedian. He put this record out on Sub Pop, and he got a really great jazz trio together to do this jazz date at this recording studio in New York, and decided that he was going to play piano for this jazz trio, but has never played piano. So
kind of like I've never been on a podcast.
Yeah, that's a fun one. A couple albums I've listened to a lot. This is a German band called Tonsteine Scherben. This is their second album, Keine Macht Vernehmend. I bought their box set a few years ago with their first 5 albums in it, and I really enjoyed this a lot.
They're singing in English?
No, absolutely not. No, it's all in German.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the music I listen to is not in English.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so another one, this is one of my favorites. This is Einstürzende Neubauten, Alles Wiederaufnehmen. This came out in 2007, probably my favorite Einstürzende Neubauten record. Opens up with a track called Nagorno-Karabakh, which I think is a really special track, and this is a really special album.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? All righty. Any final thoughts on our topic about used components, gentlemen?
No, all good. It was fun.
All righty. Well,
That
thank
was
you
fun.
very much. The next episode of the Hi-Fi 5 will be Wednesday, August 26th. Thanks for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.